Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's Up With That, the show that brings you interesting people, places, cultures, and subcultures here in the South Bay, the San Francisco Bay Area, the state of California, and beyond. And tonight, what's up with No on Prop 8, the aftermath? What's up with the status of same-sex marriages in California? And what are we going to do to overturn the vote and to get rid of Prop 8 altogether? It's a big chore. Well, let me tell you something. The first time that I learned about the struggle of gay and lesbians in America was in a class at UCLA, and we learned about the Stonewall riots. And this was a riot where the people at the Stonewall bar in Greenwich Village had just had enough of being harassed. So they got up, and it was a riot. It was the birth of the gay revolution. Here we are 40 years later fighting for basic rights, and whammo, Prop 8 comes up. No more same-sex marriages. Constitutional amendment. What's up with that? Well, we have to do something about it, and today we have two people who really care about this, upset with what happened with Proposition 8, and we're going to talk about what we can do to change this. So please welcome to the show, Gloria Nieto. Hi.
Hi.
From the Billy DeFrank Center. What's up with that?
Hey.
And Alice.
Wait, let's be terrorists.
All right. And Alice
No
Hoagland.
offense,
Alice Hoagland is from Team Bingham. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for
we
the
have
invitation.
a lot to talk about.
Thank you.
So, what is Proposition 8? What was going on with that?
Well, Proposition 8 was a proposition put on the ballot by the more conservative members of citizens of California, in cooperation with the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church and various other religious institutions, to try to take away the right that we won in the judiciary to marry, to marry our partners.
And so the history of the reason that this proposition actually came up began with what? What happened?
This has been like a long road to get to this version of the California version of equality, with being allowed to marry, and that has been brought through various suits, which were all combined. It's a couple years ago, so those were legal suits that were brought by a number of different partners, and the California Supreme Court decided that by not allowing us to be married, that we had been carved out of the citizenry, that we were a special class of people that didn't get the same thing as other people.
So non-equality under the law.
Yeah, that was a long, drawn-out way of saying, that we finally got equal standing in terms of marriage.
And I remember, clearly all the pictures from the Rotunda City Hall in San Francisco and Newsom, and of course the lesbian couple that had been, fighting for years and years, and just saw the excitement, and you're seeing everybody there and getting ready and holding these beautiful ceremonies, and Newsom up there, What is it that scares people about this whole issue? I mean, there's obviously something going on. What do you think? Or what do you think actually is?
Well, it's a revolutionary idea. Marriage is defined differently in many different cultures. Some people's idea of marriage is to have 27, 54 wives. It depends entirely on what you're used to. It's a mistake, I think, to depend upon someone's interpretation of the Bible to determine what is proper to define marriage in our society. I think what upsets or scares people is that the concept of same-sex marriage is so very different from what they are used to. And that's where it is incumbent upon us to try to educate the public about the importance of same-sex marriage, and to humanize the face of people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender, and to help the entire California population to realize that the number of LGBT people in our community is large, and that we have a right to exist, we have a right to marry, and it is important that the rights of the minority not be trampled upon by what is considered the tyranny of the majority. We are a democratic republic, and historically the rights of the minority are protected by judicial action. Sometimes it involves overturning a bad legislative action, and we are hoping that that's what will happen again with the actions of the Supreme Court in California. At no time in history has it worked out well when the rights of the minority are put to a vote of the majority. I mean, and it is the job of the Supreme Court in many cases to make sure that that the just and equitable rights of a minority are protected, and I think that that's what's going to happen here too.
Well, we can hope. I mean, there's a lot that has to be learned by people, you know, and there's a lot.
That's
unfortunately,
true.
there's just a lot of hatred.
That's
and
true.
And I tend to think that, you know, hatred, as you said very profoundly, that, you know, hatred comes from just either not being exposed to a family, you know, people
That's
don't,
true.
you know, or in a gay and lesbian situation, if a lesbian or a gay couple moves into a neighborhood, it's like, you know.
Right.
I mean, and that's just not right.
Well, I agree with you. It was a real learning experience for me. My son was Mark Bingham, and when he at age 21 came out to me, Mom, I'm gay. You could have knocked me over with a feather, and I've become what you'd call an unlikely spokesperson for gay rights, coming from a strictly heterosexual, vaguely anti-gay background. An ex-Mormon myself. I had Mark baptized a Mormon at age 8. There are many things about the LDS Church that I truly admire, but I do not admire the political activism that essentially drove me out of the church back in the late 70s, when I was being pressured, as were many people in the church, to oppose the Equal Rights Amendment.
Right.
And I am horrified to learn that the LDS Church set up phone communications so that they could try to influence the vote here in California. Out of Rexburg, Idaho, a branch of BYU, my old alma mater, Brigham Young University.
Well, you're definitely Mormon.
Well,
you're
former.
She has some lineage there.
Yeah, I'd say that. You're aware.
Well, in any case, there are many people and many concepts in the LDS Church that I admire deeply, and I will always cherish my experiences at BYU in the early 70s. But I do take issue with the politically activist position that the LDS Church has taken on this, and I am quite astounded and disappointed at the way that they have behaved specifically with their strong activist position on Prop 8.
Yeah, I have a specific story about just what you're talking about, but we're going to take a short station break, and we'll be right back to continue our talk on the No on Prop 8 fight. That's going to continue. So we'll see you in a second.
Hi, my name is Susie Moon, and I work for CineQuest Film Festival. I wanted to share with you about all the great films that matter, the film and technology forums that really give you the inside scoop of all the great technology and filmmaking out there, and as well as the Maverick Spirit guests, who are the highlights of our festival. We want you to come and have fun, meet new friends, and just enjoy your time. And you can check out our website for more information.
Only on public access.
Hi, we're here back talking about the No on Prop vote, and of course by now you already know that the proposition did pass, and we're here to talk a little bit about why it passed, and why do you think Prop 8 passed?
There was a perfect storm, for one thing, you know, that all these things didn't go well in our campaign, that I think that there was faulty thinking in the first place about how we were going to convince people to go in our direction, and that a lot of people, when there was polling that came out in September showing us with like a 17-point lead,
Right.
that we could kind of kick back and don't worry about it, and everything's good. Yeah, everything looks good, and so there wasn't passion, there wasn't drive, and there was not a plan for us to go engage anybody in conversation about it, so that they could see our faces, that they can know our names, to know our families.
Putting a face to this situation, like you say, you know, there's these humanism to this situation.
Exactly. I mean, we were reduced to amoeba, basically, that we had nothing to tell anybody, or we weren't allowed to tell anybody anything about our lives. And so while your neighbors were calling and people were going door to door, we were in offices all around the state calling people.
Right.
And that wasn't effective. The ads were not good. They did
get better, though. I have to say, they got better in the last couple weeks.
I think so too.
Yeah, but you know, by then we were in such a hole, and you know, millions of dollars were raised on our side, but for what? You know, what did for ads that weren't effective, and like I said, I thought it was a faulty strategy to begin with, and I was arguing with the campaign right from the gate, because I've done a lot of campaigns, and I've never seen one that worked with just phone calling and with a difficult script. There was no Spanish outreach. There was no African American outreach.
See, and you know,
we isolated ourselves.
And when you look at the vote now, when you look at the African American vote and the Latino vote, I mean, percentage-wise, they strongly supported Prop 8.
Well, so but you know what? Those numbers are coming closer to each other. It wasn't a 70% on the part of the African American communities, and it's like, what do we expect if we don't engage them in a conversation? If we completely ignore a whole population,
and sit back pretty because we're leading by 17 points, and
it's outside the level of comfort for a lot of people to go talk to African Americans, to go to do things together with them, like finding common causes. So,
which I fault actually the No on Prop 8 people again, because if we're talking about equality for all, you would think we would have been the very first person to be out there doing the outreach, and that is a big problem. I mean, and that, I think that is core. You know, we kicked ourselves in the butt. You know,
I mean, thank God for chemicals, because my hair was going gray. Big time during that.
Mine was balding from pulling it out.
Exactly. And we had all these people coming through the DeFrank, and, you know, we were giving out signs, but the other campaign offices were charging people $10 a sign. So if somebody from a church comes and says, I need 15 signs for my congregation, and that at another place would cost them $150, and I just gave them away. I said, you know, get them out there, be visible. So there was a lot of different infrastructure issues that were very problematic.
Well, I got charged for my sign. I mean, ironically, you know, there was...
See, you should have come to me.
I mean, so there was a miscommunication in general about that whole...
But you know what? It's also, a lot of people who worked on that campaign were first-time activists, first time working on a campaign, and so they didn't have any knowledge to push back and say, no, we shouldn't be charging for this. So I was constantly doing something different than the campaign was. So I didn't charge for the signs, and in the course of the campaign, we gave away over 3,000 signs, over 5,000 bumper stickers, you know, the window signs. We had these made in Spanish and Vietnamese, and nobody else had. Some people in LA had them in Spanish, but definitely nobody had them in Vietnamese.
Well, and it's true, and I saw a couple signs for the Yes on Prop in Spanish, but I never saw a no on prop in Spanish, and I thought, you know, another big mistake.
Well, and we
Big
had all kinds.
mistake.
We had people at phone banks who were Spanish speakers, but nobody had done a script
Yeah, see?
for them in Spanish. And then when we said, well, we'll just translate it, we'll just get it translated,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, oh no, we have to test it
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Spanish to make sure that it's effective.
Well,
and
it's too
like,
late. Just
yeah,
do it.
it's like we're 3 weeks out. How long
Yeah,
is that going to take you?
I know.
Oh, 3 weeks.
And then we'll talk about the phone banks, you know, people getting on the phone who might not have had a lot of experience. This is a very sensitive issue. Imagine
True.
what was being said to them.
True.
I mean, you had to be pretty ready for
responses.
For
yeah,
responses.
for people getting back to them. I mean,
talking calmly when people are saying all kinds of
stuff. Well,
Right,
and you know, I was just telling Alice that right after the election, I got in one email dump, I got 20 hate mails,
Of course.
but there were death threats in there.
Oh, wow.
And so I just talked to the sheriff today about, you know, how the case is progressing and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, we heard really hateful things during the campaign, but this like went way beyond
Right.
what
Yeah.
you know what the hateful things.
Equality for all. I mean, when are we going to get this? This is a First Amendment rights. I don't get people who...
Right.
Right.
Well, Nietzsche makes the point that what does not kill me makes me stronger. And I have a feeling that the gay community will come out more cohesive, more unified, with a stronger central message.
I think,
with,
yeah.
with an important, detailed message to get across to people. We need elevator speeches, the kind of thing that you can say in the length of time that it takes to go up in an elevator with
Right.
somebody. We need to have a more polished
Planned.
and comforting and
Human.
succinct message.
Yeah.
And I think that we will do it. We can see from this defeat that we have some work to do, and we will emerge from it stronger, and we will win next time.
All right, we're going to talk about that more in just a minute. We're going to go to another station break, and we'll be right back with the No on Prop discussion. So stay tuned.
Unlike commercial or public TV stations, we at KMVT Community Television focus on Silicon Valley residents, organizations, and businesses. We televise to over 100,000 viewers in Santa Clara County, with syndication potential to more than 1 million in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. We at KMVT connect Silicon Valley communities, empower people, and affect change. Do you?
This workshop is provided by KMVT Community Television. To learn more, contact us at the phone or website on your screen.
AIDS is still here, and it's still deadly. But so is the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, until one day, no one, anywhere, becomes infected with this terrible disease.
Hi, I'm back here again with the Vote No on Prop 8 people. We've been talking a lot about all of the things that happened, the things that, you know, we didn't expect to happen, the hopes. Right now there is something that's out on the internet, and it's called Prop 8 the Musical. I saw it today. You saw it. What do you think about that? What's going on with that?
You know, I'm glad that all these people are stepping up to the front, but I have to tell you, I was just like trying to figure out who was in there. Oh, Allison Janney, Margaret Cho, you know, like who our friends are like
Right.
that. And I'm glad that there's a lot of visibility. I bet there's a lot more people looking at that than at Ellen's stuff that was online too.
You know, and it's true, and it's those kinds of things will impact people. You know, the little things. So many people look at that stuff, it will begin to sway. And then you've been talking the whole time that you're positive this is going to, it's going to be overturned, this proposition, and that
hopeful it'll be overturned.
Yeah,
Not positive.
So now we have to talk
Not
about the plan.
overconfident.
How are we going to convince people that voting no on Prop 8 is what they needed to do? What's going to be the legal things that we're going to have to present, legal challenges? I mean, what do we do now? This is what people want to know. Okay, we're mad. They voted Prop 8 in. Equality issues have been, hurt, and there's a lot of pain. What do we do?
Well, as I understand it, one of the lawsuits that has been brought against Prop 8 is that it constitutes a revision and not just an amendment to the Constitution, and a revision requires a 66 2/3 majority vote, which clearly Prop 8 didn't get, and for that reason it should be overturned. This is one of the arguments that's going to be presented to the Supreme Court, and I hope that it will prevail.
Mm-hmm.
And the preliminary briefs are due like next week, like next Friday, and then the rebuttals are due in the middle of January, and from there the Supreme Court will continue on with its process. So I don't believe we're looking at anything judicially being, an opinion being offered before May or June of next year.
It might be that long.
Yeah, I mean, but it's taken us years to get to this point.
That's
anyway,
right.
So
And we are making steady, if slow, progress. And we can't deny that the yes on 8 victory has been a setback, and that we've had setbacks in several other states. But nonetheless, the LGBT cause is going forward.
And the amazing thing with this proposition is that it was, covered around the nation. Everybody in the nation was watching this, and there was a couple of reasons. First of all, there was more money spent on this proposition than any other proposition
on both sides.
In the history of America, and the second most money spent in a campaign other than the presidential election. So you have to admit there was a
lot of interest.
Yeah, and a bundle of money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money was put into this.
Well,
That's
and
right.
that goes back to one of the mistakes that was made during the campaign, is that our side did not know how much money was coming in through the Mormon funnel. So the church was having them, having people make donations of $999, because then it doesn't go into the reporting unless it's $1,000. So there was hundreds of thousands of dollars coming into the campaign that we did not know about, and apparently did not expect the swift voting of Prop 8 to happen, and so we're unprepared for the ads. We're unprepared for a lot of things that the other side was throwing at our side, and I think that was, again, like, I mean, we changed campaign managers 3 weeks out.
And yet there is a big, movement for people. People are actually doing it, filing with the IRS to have some accountability, especially for the LDS people, because
the LDS Church has come under investigation now.
Yeah, and I guess it's a $5,000 violation per person or something. So
per violation.
Yeah, per violation.
It may be financially punitive. In order to maintain its status as a nonprofit organization, an organization, especially a church, must agree not to enter political phrase such as this. And one technicality is that it is not appropriate or legal for a nonprofit organization to support particular candidates, but somehow propositions are left out of that discussion. And that may be a loophole that needs to be closed.
Well, we always want to believe that there's a separation between politics and religion and all that, but we
Church
know
and state.
Yeah, and we know that's all a bunch of hogwash.
Well,
I mean,
especially because the Catholic
didn't prove this situation.
The Catholic Archbishop of San Francisco finally said something, because he was the one who extended his hand to the Mormons in Utah, saying, "Let's work on this together." And this was like 4 or 5 years ago.
And yet a priest was let go in Fresno because he said, I want to vote no on
No on
Proposition 8.
Yeah.
It's tough to separate religion and politics because politics means people and people's opinions, and churches are part and parcel of people's opinions. I'm a member of a church, the Los Gatos United Methodist Church, that for years has prided itself on being a reconciling congregation,
Right.
meaning
Right.
that they welcome all, regardless of financial circumstance, gender, age, race, or sexual orientation. That has attracted me to this particular congregation of
Right.
Methodism, and we are a church,
Right.
and yet we hesitate to get political, but it seems inevitable
Yeah.
in this situation. But I think that it is a mistake to become so stridently, militantly partial, to the point of pouring millions of dollars from out of state and setting up a phone bank to try to influence opinion out of state. That is truly trouncing on your 501c3 status.
It's unethical. I mean, it's
Well, it seems that way to
immoral.
me.
Yeah.
As much as I admire many of the people and many of the tenets of the Mormon Church, I'm afraid there's been a bit of overstepping in this
Yeah.
case.
And
Right.
so we have just a short time left, 1 minute left. Real quickly, I wanted to mention to the viewers that your son was on Flight 93 in the 9/11 attacks, and you know, came out to you, perished on that flight, as
Thank
we
you.
well
Yes,
known.
I miss my son Mark. I'm really pleased to be able to go to Guantanamo to represent some of the 9/11 families. I'll be staring right into the faces of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and some of the other guys that take pride in having unleashed a terrible, bloodthirsty attack on us.
But the fact that you come on tonight and support your son in this way, and
I'm delighted to be
and
asked.
the
I'm
fact
so glad
that
Gloria
there could
asked
be
me.
equality
She's been
for
working
all
hard. Yes,
is really
indeed.
great. And so you know, I
Yes.
want everybody to know that the fight will go on,
Yes, it
and
will.
we will bring Prop 8 down, guaranteed. It's going to take a while. We know there were mistakes made, but you know, in the end, I believe that good things happen. So to our viewing audience, as always, if you're walking down the street and you see something interesting and you wonder to yourself, hey, what's up with that? Well, tune into our show, What's Up With That, and maybe you'll find exactly what you're looking for. We'll see you next week on What's Up With That. Good night, everybody.